on is a gentleman called Tony, and he is with the London Basketball Association. And aside from being a fantastic basketballer, he's also doing a lot of really, really great work with young people that he's going to tell us about. So Tony, welcome to today's webinar.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I'm really interested to hear all about your journey and also about what you do at your organisation. I used to play basketball back in the day. You're based in London. Can you tell me a little bit about your organisation and what you do?
Yeah, so LBA, London Basketball Association, is a charity, got official charitable status. And we essentially use the vehicle of basketball to help people in society, and we started it off the back of the 2012 Olympics, trying to leave that Olympic legacy. And, we're going from strength to strength every year. Not many people are doing basketball, doing it well. And we work with a lot of people to help raise the standard of basketball, but reach individuals, especially the hard to reach in society.
Absolutely. I love basketball. As I said, I used to play as a child, so I just know just how inclusive and fun it is, how everybody can get involved. So it'd be really great to see some examples of your work in practice. So just going to ask Emma just to present a little bit of what you do, and then we'll open up and bring on our co-hosts who will ask you some questions about what you do and your journey.
Sure.
So just trying to get that lined up.
I started playing basketball when I was roughly 10 years old.
I was 11, 12 years old. I was playing and just finding my passion and the love for the sport of basketball.
I grew up with a ball on my bed every day.
Basketball gave me discipline. It calmed me down off the court. I always said to myself to put all of my emotion and passion on the court.
In the area that I grew up in, there was a lot of kids my age that decided not really to stick with sports and, they started drug dealing or becoming part of these postcode wars, as rising in London.
After the war in Syria, it's not safe anymore to stay there. As a refugee, I need something to save my life.
People don't come back to basketball after school is because they don't see a future in it. In England, there's no funding for basketball. The LBA has created a new society and community for basketball in London, and that's helped me to evolve myself because I'm learning new things.
Playing basketball was one of the things that kept me away from all the negative exterior things that I could have been part of. It was something for me to release my stress.
When I came here, my English is not that good. In that time, LBA and the staff there, just because they know I'm new in UK, it gives me a job, it helped me to improve myself, and give me a lot of games to make money.
So the LBA helped a lot. They provided us with free qualification. Reaching the age of 16, 17, I began to do some paid work due to these qualifications. So I didn't really have the need to go through these negative things to have past income because I had the LBA to allow me to go and make that money myself.
In the next 5 to 10 years, I can see LBA being a huge help to London basketball. Them being a charity, they can help with the national team, giving coaches for our national team, giving different venues for the national team to work in, and also encouraging more people to be a part of the England and GB program.
By the LBA being a thing and such a big part of the communities in London, they've created a pathway for the youth and the elder as well, play basketball, coach basketball, and just give us all the opportunities that wouldn't have been there.
Basketball is not about country or city or whatever. If you like basketball, you're gonna share it everywhere. I'm going back to Syria with this certificate. I will be proud of myself. I did something in UK and I take it from here to my country.
Make sure my trainer's on these shots, He's got them. All right, cool.
You're on mute.
I hate when that happens. Thank you, Tony. I was just saying, what really came across is just how inclusive basketball is. All walks of life coming together, having fun. That young man that said that, he came with not knowing much English, but was just able to get engaged and involved, which is great. I am now going to bring on our co-hosts. So we have two co-hosts today. We have Andrea and we have Bula. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's lovely to have you both joining us today. So I'm going to start with a question for Tony, and then I will open up for you guys to ask your questions as well. So my question, Tony, is how did you get into basketball? What is your background in basketball?
Well, there was a few significant things in life. Although my mom's American, that's not why I'm into basketball. I grew up there in LA for 5 years, but my cousin, my uncle, really loved NBA, and we was growing up in Harlesden, in Brent, and I used to stay at his house every weekend. We used to play NBA Jam on the Nintendo until the wee hours of the morning, and used to watch a few NBA games here and there. So having that kind of basketball, and he had a basketball court at the end of his road, which is really coincidental. So we would spend a lot of time there, and that kind of just put me ahead of the curve. And people do things that they're good at, right? So going into secondary school, if you can imagine, football is the #1 sport. I was good at football as well, but I had a really bad experience, which was to do with a girl, and I said, I'm leaving that sport. But luckily, I had basketball, and I was like the best in the school, and I didn't even put that much effort into it. I joined the team, and one thing led to the next. I had a coach who was just super inspirational, and probably one of the key reasons why I'm here talking to you guys today.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to open up to my co-hosts and see if one has a question for you.
I do. So you said you had a really, really inspirational coach, and I definitely know there's a lot of young people trying to get into coaching and sports. What do you think is the most important quality of being a coach?
There's a lot, but what I would say, because I came from a coaching background as well. After a player, I became a coach. So for me, it was identifying each and every one of my students as individuals, understanding what makes them tick, what's their strengths, what their weaknesses, and then how to enhance them as an individual. So, knowing your role and how to address your people as individuals, but as a group as well.
I know with places outside of London, there's not a lot of access to basketball clubs. How do you think we can improve accessibility to basketball clubs in just everywhere?
Great question, Beulah. And earlier in my introduction, I kind of said some people ain't doing basketball well. And there's a lot more behind that. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in the best way. And really, basketball doesn't have the financial backing from the government, the bigger bodies. So if there's no funding, there's not enough infrastructure and structure. And to make the sport accessible, the people who are out there, if they could unify a bit more, if we can bring funding in, then we can use technologies and help kind of make the sport accessible online, so you know how to find it and where to go and play. It's a tough job, but it's a challenge that we really adore and we're committed to, and changing where it currently is to where it should be. So I hope that answered your question, but if it didn't, just let me know.
So
speaking of, look at the US, for example, they've got, most families will have like a basketball hoop in their back garden, right? It's so embedded in the culture. Here, I grew up playing netball, which seems like it's a bit of a cousin of basketball, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Distant cousin, but definitely cousin for sure. it's weird because yes, in America and Australia, other parts of the world, they're very sports organized. They're organized with their sports. In the UK, it seems like, yes, we win gold medals at the Olympics and stuff, but with LBA, we kind of focus at the grassroots level, not the elite. And we kind of have a vision of, you've got to start from the bottom and work your way up. You know, you don't start from the top and then work your way down. So it's tricky. And there are actually a lot of outdoor basketball courts all over the city, you know, that you can go and access for free. It is weather dependent, don't get me wrong. So you got different challenges. So if it's wet, you can't really play. If it's too cold, that's gonna be a tough one. So only the brave will do that, you know, really brave. It's interesting, but there's some good foundations for it to grow, and it keeps growing. You know, it just keeps knocking, saying, "Hey, we're here. We want more." And actually, it's doing a great social justice in society. And what I mean by that is, it's helping other issues, not just about people playing. You know, people come together, they start networking. So now you got new friends, and that's pretty powerful because one of my kind of tips for today is like network like crazy, because you don't know who's going to be important now or 5 years down the line in your life. So treat everyone with respect, network like crazy. Always ask the other person, hey, who are you? What's your name? Oh yeah, I'm Tony, you know, and exchange contacts. And today's quite easy to do that with all the social and stuff. But yeah, we've got a long way to go, but we're getting there.
That's good. Another question from our co-hosts?
Let's see. So when you were starting all of LBA, was there anybody that told you that this would not work out, and how did you overcome that?
Interesting question. Great question, Andrea. So a couple people told me don't start it. In fact, one lady called me out and said, Tony, who said you can have that name? I was like, what, Tony? She's like, no, silly, London Basketball Association. I was like, oh, because my mom and dad gave me Tony. But anyway, so people they said, nah, you got to come to me before you can have that name. I was like, oh, well, bit of a strange question, but if I was to answer it, the laws of the land said I could have that name. But, you know, we got a common goal. Let's work together. So that was one experience. And then another guy who runs a very successful charity, and they're like the creme de la creme. We try and copy from the best, you know, and that's another great tip. Copying from the best where you can. He said, nah, get out the game. There's no money in it. There's no kind of like no hope. And I'm like, I was expecting the total opposite from you. But you know what? I'm a use that in a story later on. So thanks for asking that question. I'm dying to tell that story. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, you know. So I've always been a person that kind of, I listen to everybody. I listen to a lot of people all the time. And then like even my coaches, you know, I would take what I wanted and then leave what I don't want, and then form my own path, form my own philosophy, you know. So that's another good tip for you young people moving forward. Listen, but you don't have to take everything on board that people say. Take what resonates with you. That's pretty powerful.
I agree.
Do you have anything for young people who are trying to raise awareness for funding for basketball?
Tough question, Beulah. Tough question. Let me see. What do I have for you on this one? Can you just say it one more time for me?
What would you say to young people who are trying to raise awareness for funding for basketball?
Okay, so two things I'd say. One is we have a volunteer program in the LBA where we take on like 70 volunteers or work experience or interns every year. It's a great experience where you can, it's such an eclectic work experience, and it can be done virtually, especially right now. So whoever's listening out, young people, you all have to do work experience. Contact us. We give an eclectic experience. You can figure out and understand what's behind the scenes, because we're not just good at coaching, running a tournament. We're an organization first, where we got 7 departments, you know, from marketing, fundraising, accounts, and how can young people kind of get involved so they can get involved and understand through our organization. And there's a lot of opportunities. We like young people involved at every level, from board meetings to how to structure a new program or an existing program and make it better. But how do young people get involved with fundraising, with the sport? That was one way. Another way, you know, I think if you see anything out there, just repost it, comment on it, or start the trend yourself. You know, like I started LBA 8 years ago. I just made a decision, and I just made another decision, made another, and then I started to make a plan. So if you really want to make a change and make a difference, you can, firstly, but it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment. So what I would say is, you know, another tip for the talk is get mentors, because they will help you fast track you from where you are to where you want to be. And there's a saying that's, they say, fail fast, especially in the tech world, right? So I apply that to all industries. You know, make as many mistakes as you need to. Even Michael Jordan said, he missed more shots than he made, especially game-winning shots. He missed about 900 game-winning shots, but he's still the greatest player that ever existed, they say. It's debatable, but LeBron James might be better. Who knows? Kobe Bryant's my guy. But the point is, you know, fail as many times. That's what I say. This is in my opinion, but fail as many times as you want, because you learn. Every time you make a mistake, you learn from that. You refine yourself, and it helps you figure out what you don't want, which is huge. When you know what you don't want, it's so much easier to move forward with knowing what you do want and what you don't want to accept, and you have standards and principles. But I don't know if that was a great answer, but I think maybe you got something out of that answer, hopefully.
There was loads there, Tony.
Definitely.
Good.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, isn't it, thinking about having to raise funds for basketball here as compared to, as I said, just how popular it is in the US. I mean, what are the general attitudes towards basketball? Because as I said, I actually played in the London Youth Games a very long time ago, representing Redbridge, which is where I grew up in London. But I love basketball, but do young people generally like basketball, know what it's about? Do they idolize Michael Jordan and Kobe and others?
Well, LeBron's the new guy on the block, you know, and he is doing amazing things. And I like him maybe better than MJ in the sense of off the court as well as on the court. You know, he's proven himself time and time again. But in London, you know, you mentioned London Youth Games. It's one of their most popular sports, which just goes to show, like, it's in demand, high in demand. It's a cheap sport, you know. All you need is, you can actually play it by yourself and enjoy the heck out of it. Whereas even soccer, which is cheaper than basketball, you don't really play football by yourself, you know. Basketball, you can actually play it by yourself. You can play 2-on-2, whatever, 5-on-5. It's super popular and it's just growing. We just keep knocking on the doors, you know, just keep pushing through doors, and you see a little gap in the door, we get our foot in there. We try and open that door further and connect the dots, you know. It's kind of like being a kid. You get to connect all the dots being a CEO of this charity, you know. And there's a lot of dots to be connected, because it's almost like we've got a blank canvas. We can do whatever we want and create greatness in whatever areas, but we really have to look at things from a bird's eye view, see where the most need is, seeing, oh, these people are doing that over there, they're doing a good job of it, so we don't need to do that right now. So we're very strategic. And in terms of, you asked about funding, funders, they're seeing the value of basketball. Right now, we collect a lot of data. One of the things about us, we've been like ahead of the curve in terms of collecting evidence and data and case studies to show and prove basketball is significant. It make a profound, positive, deep impact in society from young people, and there's a huge ripple effect, you know. Yeah, from employability, mental health, physical health, networking, and then building like self confidence, time management. And my last one is my favorite one. They call it intellectual flexibility. Ooh, that's pretty fire. You know what that is?
Is it making choices based on like all the evidence you've collected?
That is a great answer. Yes. How I explain it, like imagine you're a part of a basketball team, right? And you're the captain. Now your co-mate, your teammate says, hey, we're in a timeout. We're talking about how we're gonna go back into the game. And the captain says, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. But your teammate says, hey, actually, coach or captain, I've got another idea. I've noticed this one player, he's their weak link, or she's their weak link. Let's get the ball down there. So you as a captain, are you intellectually flexible to say, yeah, I recognize you're right. Let's change. Let's go with that plan. Or do you just hold firm and, is it an ego persona? So, yeah, that's my version of intellectual flexibility.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking,
you go ahead.
So I was thinking, because you said you connect a lot of dots and make a lot of different decisions, obviously we are currently in a pandemic, and I was wondering, have you had time to make any decisions now during a pandemic moving forward once everything opens up again that you might not have considered if it was as usual, for example?
Can you say it one more time?
Have there been any decisions you've made during lockdown that you might not have made once you leave lockdown, or if it never happened in the first place?
Yes. Yeah. So, we digitalized all of our services. So instead of having physical basketball sessions at the local court up the road, we would do a Zoom call or Instagram Live and reach people and connect that way. We're having conversations now, like short chats with certain groups with certain topics. So the real difference is not being able to play physically. And the feedback and what we're hearing is people are dying to get back into physical sport, being around people, socializing, competing, sweating, releasing tension, because it does so many beneficial things for you. But it's allowed us at the beginning of the pandemic. There was so much information that came in as a charity, new governance, new practices, and it was so much, and a lot of it wasn't needed for us, but we started to understand it, to identify that's for us, that's not for us, and then make a plan to move forward. So I guess if a pandemic ever happened again, we'll be ahead of the curve, be able to adjust. But it was really tough at the beginning. Just as a team, we have like 15 people on our team, and to stay united, connected was really important. And it took a lot of work. Yeah, sometimes I feel like we need to do more, actually. I probably always feel like that, just because we're trying to push the bar every day and we're just super committed. But yeah.
And how are you, your colleagues, staying positive in the midst of the pandemic?
Well, I feel like, you got to lead by example. So just bring great energy, inspire, give them purpose. So my colleagues really have purpose, and that really helps, because it helps you wake up in the morning and say, like, look, I'm about to help 1,000 people. So that makes you and inspires you to say, look, I'm going to keep doing what I have to do. I'm going to keep taking over. I'm not just going to get defeated. But it's been tough, everybody's been going up and down and stuff. And we just try and be there for each other as a team, individually, and understand, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Even like it's because it's real. So we're human beings, and we're here. If we can't help ourselves, how are we going to help other people? That's a simple analogy right there. So we connected with London Youth, and they have a whole program where they can help our employees, with their mental health. if they ever needed some assistance and stuff like that. But we try and have a get together once a month, just on a virtual call type party. Really fun. We never even did it before because we're just so committed and working hard. But the pandemic's kind of taught us actually take a moment, celebrate, appreciate each other just as co-workers. And that's been super powerful to, yeah.
Great. Co-host, any other questions?
Have you got any?
No.
Okay, I do. So during lockdown, have you formed any good habits that have helped you to get through? And do you have any advice for any other young people in lockdown that you might want to share?
Yes. So I've been working on this morning routine for like 5 years now, but the pandemic allowed me to actually do it and repeat it on a daily basis. Like even today, I woke up, I did a meditation. That was like 20 minutes. I did another meditation, which is more about like this breathing technique, which I recommend. Check out the Wim Hof method, or aka the Iceman. And then I went for a run. Then I had a smoothie. And once I start my day with those kind of 4 things, actually I journal some days, not every day, but journaling is important. So when I wake up, or when we wake up, they say you're like the most creative. And because I like to connect the dots and stuff, when you're most creative at like in the morning time, certain thoughts come in, especially when you're meditating and stuff. So as soon as I finish meditating, I like jump on my Keep notebook and I just type down my notes on how I'm going to achieve something or whatever came to my head. But once you do those kind of 5 things, which is meditate, breathing meditation, workout, smoothie, journal, and shower, kind of cold as well, shower, cold shower, that's like 6 things now. No matter what comes up to you in your day, it's going to be okay. You're going to be able to deal with it. So I highly recommend checking out, doing a daily kind of, having a regime, a daily ritual that you believe in, it works for you and inspires you to inspire others.
Mm-hmm. Sounds awesome. And I think I've got one more question. Have we got time for one more?
Yeah, just one more question. You go for it.
And one more, any words of advice for people who want to get into basketball or feel unsure about getting into basketball?
Yeah. Don't take yourself too serious. No, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Just get out there, run around, talk to people, let it know, look, if you're not that good, just say, look, I'm working on my game right now. It's not where I want it to be, but I'm working on it. Can you help me? Just have a positive attitude with it and contact us if you need help. London Basketball Association. We got a lot of inquiries, and we take time with each and every single one of them. So it's definitely possible. So do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think really great positive words to end on. Thank you so much, Tony. It's been really great getting to know you a bit better and getting to know your organisation and the great work that you do. So have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining us and all the best.
Thank you. Beulah and Andrea, you were amazing.
So
great co-hosts. Well done. You got a bright future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Cheers.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.